Hi, I'm Janine.
Hi, I'm Brian.
Welcome to Vesper Meadow.
Welcome to the first of 3 videos on the Oregon Vesper Sparrow. In this first video, we'll be learning about the ecology of the bird. So there are 5 things that we're going to learn about here. Number 1, we'll simply get introduced to the Oregon Vesper Sparrow, including some of its names and what those names mean. Number 2, we'll learn about how to identify the bird by special markings or colorings that it has. Number 3, we'll learn about how this bird migrates long distances and how it spends just part of its life cycle here in our landscape with us. Number 4, we'll learn about its habitat. So while it's here, where does it like to go and what is it doing there? And number 5, we'll learn about the population of the bird. So how many Oregon Vesper sparrows are there and what's happening to that number over time?
Hi everyone, welcome to Vesper Meadow. Vesper Meadow Restoration Preserve is about 323 acres and it's mostly open meadow near Howard Prairie in southwest Oregon. And we named it Vesper Meadow because it's significant habitat for the Oregon Vesper Sparrow. Part of our mission here is to restore the land and inspire a culture of land stewardship and nature connection. So volunteers, scientists, artists, small businesses, tribes, students, and teachers, really anyone is welcome and comes to participate in restoring the land here for the sake of rare species like the Oregon Vesper Sparrow. I have a picture right here. This is the Oregon subspecies of the Vesper Sparrow, and they're estimated to be down to 2,000 to 3,000 individuals, declining at 5% a year. In subsequent videos, we'll explore why they're declining and what we can do to help them and their habitat recover. The Oregon Vesper Sparrow, Poacetes gramineus affinis, which means it loves grass. The Oregon Vesper Sparrow is our namesake here at Vesper Meadow. In the summer, they come here to breed and raise their young, and we have about 40 breeding pairs that live around the edge of the meadow. The Oregon Vesper Sparrow has been petitioned to be listed as endangered or threatened under the Endangered Species Act. And this is because they have been declining in numbers for a while, and they're estimated to be down to 2,000 to 3,000 individuals. So if you want to go outside and learn how to identify a Vesper Sparrow, you could get a guidebook. The Sibley's is a great one. The Oregon Vesper Sparrow is a little brown bird. They're pretty difficult to identify, but once you learn a few key identifiers, you'll be able to spot them right away. So the Oregon Vesper Sparrow, you can see, has a bit of a red shoulder patch or a rusty shoulder patch, and underneath their cheek there's what's called a white malar check, so kind of a white crescent shaped marking. Their breast is pretty speckled, and you can't see in this photo, oh, you can see in this one where it's flying off, the edges of its tail are white. The outer tail feathers are white, which is kind of similar to the Oregon Junco, except they don't have the black head that the Oregon Junco has. So those are some key identifiers: the rusty shoulder patch, the white malar check, and the white outer tail feathers when it flies off. Some other key things you can look for are in its behavior. So the Oregon Vesper Sparrow is often found on the ground. They might be searching for seeds or insects in bare patches of ground. They might be standing on ant hills in the meadow in the grass. But you'll never find them more than like 15 feet off the ground. They don't really go that high up into trees. They like to perch and rest and sing from ant hills, from stumps, from fence posts, fence lines, anything that kind of gets them slightly above the grass but not too far. The name Vesper actually comes from an Old Latin root meaning evening star, and some people say that they were named Vesper for calling and singing early in the morning and late into the evening. But what I found here at Vesper Meadow is they'll actually sing in the late morning and even the midday. Maybe they just like when it's warmer. I don't know. So the Oregon Vesper Sparrows, they spend their time in meadows in Oregon and Washington. Their range used to extend from Northern California up to southern British Columbia, but they are now extirpated from those areas. They no longer live in BC or Northern California. So they spend their summers in meadows, such as here at Vesper Meadow, also in the Willamette Valley, also up in Washington. And then they migrate middle of September down to Central California and all the way down into northern Baja, Mexico. So we're not exactly sure where the Vesper sparrows from Vesper Meadow actually spend their winter, but through partnership with the Klamath Bird Observatory, we're trying to research that. So the special thing about being here at Vesper Meadow, which is next to Howard Prairie and also Lily Glen, between Lily Glen and Vesper Meadow, we estimate with our research that there's about 80 nesting sites for the Oregon Vesper Sparrow. They like to nest in the summer. They come back in late April from their wintering grounds in Southern California and Baja, and they start singing. The males start singing for a mate, and when they are ready to build a nest, they find features in the meadow, clumps of grass, small shrubs, and it doesn't take too much to have a nesting site, but they'll just clear out a little bowl at the base of the grass or the shrub, kind of adds a little bit of grass and weave a nest, and then it's pretty well hidden in the meadow. If you're out looking for a nest, you pretty much don't see them until you're about a foot away from the nest. The female will sit on it until you're about a foot away, and then she'll fly off. She'll usually fly off and sit on a nearby stump or perch and kind of watch her nest until you leave. So when you're walking around in the meadow, you need to be really careful pretty much April, during their breeding season, April through July.
In this first video about the Oregon Vesper Sparrow, we've learned that the scientific name means that it loves grass, and its common name, Vesper, means evening star. We learned about its identifying marks. We learned that it's a migratory bird that spends the summers here in Oregon. We learned about 80 nesting sites that were found in Vesper Meadow or near Vesper Meadow, and that the nesting sites are in grass. We learned that there are only 2,000 to 3,000 Oregon Vesper sparrows in the entire world, and that the population is declining each year. In closing, let's think about why we might care about the Oregon Vesper Sparrow.
Why should we care about the Oregon Vesper Sparrow? It's just a little brown bird. They're out here doing their thing. We're at our homes doing our thing. Why should we care? I think there's multiple reasons why we should care. The birds are very sensitive to changes in the environment. So when there's pollution in our rivers, or forests are being destroyed, or meadows are being plowed under, the birds are the ones that react first, and they can tell us that the environment is not as healthy. And this is the same environment that we depend on for our water, for our food, for materials that make our clothes, or things that our houses that we live in. And so we're kind of in this way all connected, and the birds are indicators for how our environment is.